Hello, and welcome to the Spiritualist Circle of Light. This is our dream class, and we are continuing our exploration of Nigel Hamilton's Awakening Through Dreams, the journey through the inner landscape. We have wrapped up the Nigredo operation. Nigel Hamilton chose to explore the inner landscape through the alchemical process. And the Nigredo was the black stage or the blackening stage, which is a stage of mystery. And we are now approaching the Albedo stage, which is the white stage or the light stage, and we enter this with purpose. So the alchemical stage of Albedo, one of the operations, the first operation we go through is called Sublimatio, or the stage of emergence. And in this instance, we are separating. In Nigredo, we dismantled, we took the dreams apart. But in this instance, we are separating the components of the dream, or in our case, we are differentiating. And to help to explain this, we will do this with a dream. This is a dream that was experienced a short time ago. In this instance, I'm not quite in a body of water, but I'm by a body of water. The water is not a deep blue, as one would expect, but it is a deep green, a beautiful green here. And there are several of us. Many are out floating about. Most of them, a lot of them are using some form of flotation device. And I'm told that they are fashioned from old rafts. They are made of the rubber from the old rafts. And the appearance of these devices are like those of children. Let me see if I can find one. Well, looks like the best I can do is the rubber ducky here. But you get the general idea with that. So when we differentiate, yeah, we're separating components, but we're differentiating them. The water is green, not blue, which is a difference because green typically represents a healing taking place, a mental healing. But because there is also blue in it, it can also be the expansion of the mind. And water is typically representative of emotions, even conscious. And in this instance, I don't feel that it is the conscious or the emotions. I feel it's more on a conscious level. So we are differentiating that. We are separating those two aspects. And there are several of us floating in the water. And many are using the floating devices. They look like simplistic animals, like the rubber duck here, and they are made of old rubber, not plastic. Plastic is a holding. Uh, Plastic is a holding situation. Think of a plastic bag. You hold items in it. So this is rubber, which means that there is a some form, perhaps some form of protection taking place. Because what is rubber used? We rubber gloves, rubber bumpers, typically for protection. And then the flotation devices, very simplistic, like the ones that children would play with. In one of our previous classes, we talked a little bit about the idea of children, then the things associated with them, suggesting a need for simplicity. So we are separating. This is the differentiation. It's this and not that, which is important because before we were grouping them, now we're getting a little more refined in our approach. Uh, Another way of looking at separation or separating the items is think of it as death. Death is it's a transition, but as part of the transition, we are separating the soul from the body and the spirit, because we view the spirit as the animating force, and that animating force is brought to each of us through our parents. The soul is the summation of who we are. Think of it as the personality, and that's what we are. That's why we say death is a transition, it's a separation, a differentiation. It's the separation of the soul from the spirit and from the body. Through these explorations, we begin to recognize the sacredness within our lives. I believe it was Thomas More in his Care of the Soul who spoke about finding the sacredness within the mundane. So now, as we go through Albedo, there is another operation here called Sublimatio, and this is the sublimation or the diversion of energy. And in our case, it is the mind, it is the diversion of the mind from the mundane physical to the conscious sublime. And what we mean by this with the sublime, we're talking about the deeper meanings here, the subtle meanings associated with life, the life experience, because that's what we are exploring is the life experience. So we begin with in Albedo, we begin with the separation, the differentiation. We're differentiating the different parts of the dreams. It's this and not that. The idea of them floating on these devices. We can assume that others are not floating on devices. This could be a lead in or an extension of an earlier dream I had several years ago where people were floating in the water with just their noses above the water. And in that instance, the with the entire body being below the surface, body beneath the water suggests that where we go to, where we float to, our direction is out of our control. We are bound by the whims of the currents or the currents of life. But in the sublimation stage, we are redirecting our mental energy. This is what this dream may be suggesting, because with a flotation device, we are able to direct ourselves in where we are going. This is a conscious effort here. Remember, at the beginning with Albedo, this is a purposeful journey where it's no longer here or there. We are purposefully exploring what is the dream is about. The water, like I said, water typically represents emotions and the flow of conscious. The water was not turbulent or anything like that. It was smooth, and because of that, it's going to be more about the conscious flow. And if I compare the two dreams, then what this is suggesting is that I'm more in harmony. I'm more aware of of the the surrounding environment. I'm more in tune. I'm more in the flow. I'm more in control. I'm aware of the environment. There's progress that's been made, and that's what this is telling me. There is progress that has been made, and but the animals here now. How does this go? Animals typically suggests a need for simplicity. Now, what this may be implying is that I am in my research, in my explorations, I'm getting too involved in the process, and I'm overlooking important things. It should be more simplified. And for instance, researching the tarot has been my main thing here. And as I am going through all these different references, presently I'm looking at the Hanged Man, and there are a variety of references to the Tao, and I may be getting too many. I may be overthinking it. And what the flotation devices are suggesting there is I need to redirect my focus to something that's more simplistic, more all encompassing, and not necessarily little slices here and there. And as we move through the operation of Sublimatio, transitioning from the mundane to the sublime, there is also the operation of quagliato, and I'm probably mispronouncing that one even worse than the previous one. But these are all part of Albedo. These are all part of the light stage, and light is the revealing stage. Nigredo, we were discovering. Now we are learning about ourselves. We are being revealed unto ourselves. And in this stage, this is about reconciliation. This is the reconciliation stage. And it's easier to think of it as the harmonizing stage, because we're taking these parts of our lives here, we're seeing them expressed to us in dreams, and we're taking these different aspects of ourselves, and we're reassembling them in a way that has more meaning, a deeper meaning, or yeah, we'll leave it at that, a deeper meaning. So we are looking at harmonizing the common reality. The common reality is what we all agree upon, meaning that we all agree that this image here is a rubber duck. That's what the common reality is about. So with reconciliation, it comes the expression of the Hermetic principle of opposites or polarities. See, in the blackening stage in Nigredo, we were more likely to see things from as an opposing position. And as we move into the Albedo stage, the light stage, these oppositions are no longer opposing each other, but they are complementing each other. And this is important because this is what reconciliation is. We take those forces that are against each other, and we shape them in a way, they are reshaped in a way where they become complementary to each other. And this is, as I said, this is important. We can go through life moving against everything, or we can go through life working with everything. And there's a huge difference. Working against stuff typically brings suffering. Working with is how we harmonize everything. And that's what this is about. And we can see through Nigredo how everything has its opposite. We see these opposites. And Nigredo reveals to us that we are our struggle is that's what Nigredo reveals, our struggle. We discover that we are struggling, and then with Albedo, we it's revealed, and through that revelation, we learn how to reconcile and to bring those opposing forces together, to forge them into something better, something stronger. And as I said, the dream may be a an associated with an earlier dream. So let's look at this just briefly one more time. The water, I'm on a shore looking out. The water is a deep, dark green, not a deep blue, but a deep green. And with that, there are pools of blue with that, but there's a healing here. Green is typically all about healing, regeneration, renewal, because green is associated with the plants. And symbolically speaking, or mystically speaking, however you want to do that, green represents the plants, and plants typically represent renewal. So water is not with the emotions in this instance, but with the consciousness. There is a renewal of consciousness. Think of it as healing if you want, but renewal is more in line with what is being expressed here. So there is a renewal taking place here, a rediscovery, if you will. And the discovery is through these flotation devices. We are on these, we're holding on to them. We're not resting on them, but we are holding on to them. Only the head is above the water, which is all that is needed, which is more so than the earlier dream with just the nose. Imagine just floating with, this is it. You can't see, but with the head above the water, we can see. And that's what the dream is expressing to me, is that I am able to direct where I want to go. These flotation devices, they're made of rubber. Rubber is typically for protection, rubber gloves, rubber bumpers. They are to protect you, keep you safe. So I am able to direct where I want to go, where I want to flow. Think of it as I'm able to direct my spiritual path. And but the appearance is in the shape of these childish animals, meaning simplicity is needed. I need to stop getting caught up in the details, take a step back, and look at a broader, more inclusive view. So I think we have maybe one or two more stages left with this. While we are here, there is, and we're talking about the harmonizing aspects of here. Let's look at the heart center. Hamilton has a chapter called the heart center. And when we're looking at this, this is, we're talking about the heart chakra. And the heart chakra mediates the, the, I don't want to say the upper, but the chakras above and the chakras below. We don't want to suggest there's a difference between the two, because there's not. But what it does is it mediates. The heart experiences the emotion of events before the rest of the body. The heart maintains the body through the emotions experienced. So the heart has its own brain, or as it is its own brain. So within the heart center, the heart is the emotional center, because we get excited, heartbeat speeds up, and it influences the rest of the body. We get depressed, the heart again changes its rhythm, and it affects the rest of the body. So what we are doing, part of this journey that we are on, is to open this emotional center, open this heart center, because we are conditioned to think. Remember, in one of the earlier classes, concrete thinking versus imaginative thinking. The one is solid, logic, cold, rigid. The other is imagination, flexible, often impulsive. And it's these two that we need to bring together. So as the heart center opens up, we begin to experience more emotion. This is on the sublime aspects of life. We are moving. We're not moving away from the mundane, but we are bringing the mundane into the more sublime aspects. And this is the emotional center. We are experiencing our emotions. We are opening up to them and experiencing them. This is the life force that is within us. This is how we do our healings. If you are a healer, you need to open the emotional center, open the heart center. And as this opens up, we begin to reshape our personality. We begin to reshape the way we think, the way we look at life, the way we approach life. Our experience of life changes all through this heart center. And that is what we are doing when our spiritual journey is all about the experience. And that's what we must be doing, is expanding our experience. And there are, we've got the other energy centers here. The throat center, often referred to as communications, sensations of constriction, whether it's usually in the dream is when we recognize these. If we can't speak in the dream, it's because there is unexpressed emotions that we need to express in our waking life. There is the third eye center, which is often viewed as insight, and it's tied in with the throat center. This is, well, a lot of people say this is your intuition here, but this is the center for understanding, because that's how we gain insight. We gain insight by understanding our experience, and that's Again, that's what this is about. That's what this spiritual journey is about. Understanding the experience. And it does us no good if we can't apply it and use it. And then we have the crown center, which is, right up through here. You may be able to feel that as you move your hand in your aura or the biofield there. But we're talking about dreams. So when you feel this tingling or a heat or anything in this area, and just because we're dreaming doesn't mean that our sensations are asleep. Everything is active except for the frontal area, the logical aspect of the mind, of the brain. But if you feel these sensations of heat or tingling in your up here in your head, typically we're going to say up here, but your head, this may be an indication that you need to express your personal feelings, how you feel about something. See, again, it's all about this emotions. We experience through emotions, and when we no longer experience through emotions, or these emotions begin to rule us, see, that's another thing. Many of us are ruled by our emotions, and they have to be melded with the other aspects. We remember we talked about concrete thinking and flexible thinking, logical and imaginative. They have to come together. Too much of logical thinking leads to rigidity. Too much imaginative thinking leads to impulsiveness. But when we bring the two together, they work with each other. And that's what this is about. This actually concludes our exploration of Nigel Hamilton's Awakening Through Dreams, the journey through the inner landscape. If you found any of this of value, please donate. Your seeds help us leave seeds with others. They help us improve as well. If you would like a dream interpreted, please contact us through our Facebook page. We have Messenger, and you can also drop us a line through our email, spiritualistcircleoflight@gmail.com. You should see it moving across the screen there. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for allowing us to share.